Okay, I've been like all day, or most into the night generally, isn't it, for the last nearly week on the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. Now you might be thinking, this isn't, this is showbiz. And it's like, no, it isn't. It's like, this is how courts deal with men as much as anything else. And it's also a wonder of how that Amber Heard was able to win that case in London. Although that case in London was a little bit different. She could just benefit by turning up and muddying the water in that case, which is what she's now doing in her case. But I'm trying to weigh it up and I'm trying to be fair because say the jury, right, and the jury is mostly men. They said that I heard it said that the jury was mostly men between 25 and 35. Now that cuts both ways. Now if she's had a good look with her eyes at that jury, she'll work out because of the various fucking skills she's got, who she's able to emotionally manipulate, because you would. You look at them looking at you if you're playing the game she's playing, because it does appear that she's got a strategy and a pattern, and it's all pervasive. She does it all the time. So the Depp case against her is okay. Get the best clinical psychologist we can find who does trials, and they've turned up with that Dr. Shannon Curry, and it's like, you know what, there's something you can't get past. And I got sent a message off Wayne, and he's like, it's a shame in that courtroom that they haven't got someone like Vacnin or else Richard Grannon. I'm like, you cheeky bastards, what about me? To explain to that jury as to what it means to have borderline personality disorder and it be all pervasive. I'm like, nah, them two guys, they're good, but she's the best in the world. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh yeah. It's like there's no one quite like women for understanding that, because they've seen it. In the same way as it's like I can look at it and go, all right, okay, and I can make a judgment, but women who tend to be the ones who treat it and have to diagnose it most of the time. Psychology is a female-dominated space, and it's like you get a very competent female psychologist to lay down borderline personality disorder like no one else ever has on a camera. It's like she's eminently believable. It's like, fair enough, it's like, go and get Richard. As he was saying, it's like, get someone proper. I'm like, no, they got someone proper. No messing. It's like Johnny Depp gets it. Somewhere along the line, people have got to him and said, right, you lost in the first instance with this one, Johnny. Why? Borderline personality disorder. What does that mean? And it'd be, you've been married to her for a year or so and you don't know what that is. And then he'd have something to come back and say, well, she seemed like she was vulnerable and a lot of danger. I had to try and keep her on the straight and narrow. Would be his tale. She's someone who needs work. She's someone who needs care. And it's like, you're a caregiver, you're a sympathy daddy. And you thought, selfishly, when you found her, that you could actually help her and do her a favour, not knowing that this wasn't no lost sheep. This was an out of control force of nature that's not really attached to the real world. So it's like, I have to try and be fair. That's the thing. It's like, think of it as you're a member of the jury and this is the story that's unfolding in front of you. And you want to make, them people are being asked to judge, and it's no, you can't judge. Well, they're being asked to They're the jury in a trial, so it's like, hang on a minute, judgment, that's not something we're supposed to do. We're supposed to let everything go, especially when some lady says that we should. So, in the interest of being fair, looking at this case, there has to be questions asked, and I say I got a problem really with the way that Johnny Depp lives his life. It's like, if you have weeks on an island drinking red wine and cocaine, my problem, taking like loads of cocaine, jars full of cocaine on the table, I'm like, well, the only problem I've got with these soirees that Johnny Depp's having is, the number one, it's like, if I bought drugs like that, I go to jail. But you're a celebrity, so that don't happen. And then he'd be like, if you're such a good customer for drugs, Johnny, it's like you only need one drug dealer and you get him to follow you around the world. What? It's like, yeah, it's like, did your drug dealers come up with you through the Hollywood system? It's like, do you know Dr. Feelgood? Do you know Super Pablo? What? Who's Super Pablo? Super Pablo is a character that I've invented as a placeholder in Hollywood. Super Pablo. So what is he? He's the biggest drug dealer. He's the discreet guy. He's the one that people go to. And it's a matter of, in my mind, I think that Super Pablo in Hollywood is probably an actor, a director, or a producer. It's like Quentin Tarantino was a Hollywood outsider when he wrote True Romance, and it'd be Hollywood producer buys suitcase full of cocaine. And it'd be a matter of clever. It's like, where's he got all his gear from without getting arrested? Can you see Johnny Depp cruising around the streets looking to buy junk? You think he sends his security guard out cruising on the streets looking to score gear in other cities? It's like, nah, it's like this guy will have it down already. He'll have smuggling to a T, or else it's all done with private jets and no one really gives a fuck. I'm Johnny Depp. This is harassment. This is, have you got a warrant? So there's always that thing with me as to where it's like, I've known people who've gone down for drugs more. I've known people who've been busted out by other criminals for drugs or been scared out of it. Who've been drug dealers who didn't recognise that without the protection of the law, they were actually vulnerable to other drug dealers. So it's like, this is a dangerous game. And it's like, if you had a customer as good as Johnny Depp, well, that customer's worth a fortune to you. And how much would you be able to pay? How much would you be able to charge Johnny Depp for an ounce of weed? And if you weighed up, Johnny Depp's likely a guy who goes through an ounce a week. How much would you sell an ounce for? If you're not selling it in for like 5 times the street value, you're a fucking idiot. Why? Because your discretion is worth as much as his reputation. You want paying super big money to supply those people with drugs. As to where that's the highest, got to be the highest margin marketplace because of the discretion required. And how do you get paid for that? You keep your mouth shut. It's like, when was the last time you heard of a big trial in America where it was like, Hollywood pimp, Hollywood drug dealer facing charges? Just never happens. Never happens. So it's like, Johnny, right? How old is he? 58? So he's 10 years older than me. He's been a star most of the time I've been alive. He'd have been someone I'd have heard of from about the age of 15, 14. Right, how long has it been common knowledge that that guy is a bit of a wreckhead? Let's put it out there. You ever seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? Well, he likes it. He thinks it's one of the funniest and most enlightening things he's ever had contact with. It's like, Johnny Depp's really skilled, right, as a professional actor, entertainer. I remember watching this, that Hunter S. Thompson. I think he's an interesting person in just how crazy he can be and still be able to operate a typewriter. And he'd be funny because he's super cruel and shocking. And it's funny because it's super cruel and shocking. And it's like Johnny Depp is obsessed with that guy. I watched a documentary about Hunter S. Thompson. Not so long, maybe about 10 years ago. And there were loads of sections in it, Johnny Depp readings from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It was cool, actually. It was like a sequel to the movie. The guy who played Hunter S. Thompson was giving out readings from his books. And it's like, yeah, this is one of the... He can read, this fella. He can read. He can read. You put material in front of him, puts his specs on, gets to reading. Fantastic. It's like this guy's really highly skilled, takes it serious. But he takes everything else seriously as well, including getting wrecked. If you were of a right mind and you ran into Johnny Depp age about 47, 48, age what I am now is when he's got together with Amber Heard. And it'd be a matter of his lifestyle at the time, the last thing he fucking needed was like a martinet who'd try and enforce rules on him. Because he's a junkie, and a nice one, right? A good junkie. So he's happy as long as he's always got. He doesn't have to get wrecked all the time, guy like that. He just has to know where he's got some. It's and then you've got it where all the lies they tell themselves that pushes them then into the arms of the doctors as to where this trial, you know what I mean? If I was in charge of this trial, if I was the justice guy, just stick me with a black coat on and say, right, speak. If I was the justice guy, I'd be like, who are your doctors? Excuse me? Yeah, bring them in. Arrest them. Excuse me? Yeah, arrest them on suspicion of distribution of Class A drugs, will you? What? It's like, yeah, it's like, even though it's a civil trial, it's like, fuck it out. It's like, even though you're protected, it's like, the way that you like to pull the rug, Amber, I'm pulling the rug under you and we're going to, like, throw the law out the window. We're going to do a very Biden-esque thing. We're going to throw the law out the window and we're going to go and arrest your doctors. And we're going to charge them with distribution of Class A drugs. And we've got a fucking good case based on what you're telling us about these doctors. We've got, right, a reason to go and arrest them in what is American law. You've got to have probable cause. And you look at them two dickheads in that court and you're like, my doctor prescribed me, my doctor prescribed me, my doctor prescribed me, and it's a matter of, hang on a minute. So you've got your doctor prescribing you, and you've also got Super Pablo drugs. So are you telling your doctor one thing? Or is the doctor on board that you're full of drugs? And using, you know, advanced sort of understandings of chemistry in order to keep you going, or get you even more wankered, or get you up off the ground? Are the doctors, with their ability to just administer these concoctions, they're your licensed drug dealers? And you tell each other fucking stories like, right, okay, I'm getting off the cocaine and the MDMA, right? Prescribe something for me. So what does he give them? Opiates. Oh, that's a nice fucking change up, isn't it? So then he goes on them for a week or two, and it's like, well, I'm feeling, yeah, I'm alright, I'm kind of floaty, I'm like chilled out. Because on opiates. And then it'd be a matter of, oh, fuck these opiates, break out the fucking cocaine and the red wine. Way! He falls off the wagon all the time with the best will in the world. So a Johnny Depp speech is, sorry, baby, please, sorry, please, baby, sorry, baby, I'm an alcoholic and a fucking junkie. In fact, the whole thing just rolls into one. I think you're talking just about the same old fucked up narc. But they've got different tastes, all of, every single one. They've got very exotic tastes, and the people with no boundaries who try new things. And these are our, these are the champions of our society. These are our moral betters. These are the people who are, these are the good people. These are the people we should listen to. Bring in those doctors and say, what the fuck are you playing at? What is a day in the life of Johnny Depp? And it appears that when he's not working, a day of the life in Johnny Depp is just Johnny Depp, the Johnny Depp show. What? Yeah, he just does whatever he wants. And he's earned the right to do whatever he wants. How do you justify that? See how much money he's got, and there's no one fucking complaining that he's not paying his bills. My capitalism. He jumps on the right bandwagon. It's like if Elon Musk jumped on the right bandwagon, then so did Johnny Depp. And becoming an actor when he became an actor and getting noticed. Side one came out in her testimony, right, that Johnny had started on her and shoved her about. And I believe this story, actually, but it's wacky. I believe her when she says this. Right. We've known who Johnny Depp, I've known who Johnny Depp's been since for 30 years. So it's like I go back 30 years on Johnny Depp, maybe a bit more. And I'm not a big fan. I haven't got a picture of, I haven't got a pin-up of him on my wall, and I don't think I've seen half of his films, but I'll probably get close to being half. Now, I know that his kind of first love situation was, or first love once he hit the big town, because he'll have been doing whatever he were doing, and then it's like Hollywood Nights, isn't it? Everyone should listen to Bob Seger from time to time. Or even, the music of that time, as to where all these young people straight out of high school, and here I'll crib from Quentin Tarantino, where, the Hollywood thing he made, what's it called? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Where Jack Dalton's one, he's the guy played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and the trick he pulled was being the best looking kid in his high school and making his way to Hollywood with a southern accent. And they put him straight into westerns. He's good looking. And that's really all these people are. It's like acting's a thing. It's like who hasn't acted? If you went to public school, you've been an actor. You've been discovered already. So personally discovered as someone who can act, right? Act. Terrible with lines, but once I've got it memorised, yeah, I can just... Wait a minute. I can do that. It's like you can give me pages of fucking monologue. I did, at the age of like 7, 8, I did like a Christmas Carol. I played the ghost of Jacob Marley because fucking have it right. I am a fright. And I was the biggest kid in the school then as well, with the biggest booming voice as to playing a ghost terrorising somebody. And it's like you're only in it for 10 minutes, but you've got 10 minutes of dialogue. It's an important part to play. You have to go in and make an impact if you play that. So if you're playing it as a 7-year-old, right? 8-year-old. You've got to be big and you've got to be loud and you've got to be clear, and you've got to put on a performance that would be good enough to scare the 7-year-old. So it's like, yeah, I did that thing, and how many times did I rehearse for how many rehearsals did I do of my scene to get it right? And I did get it right. It's like there's a video of it in the world of me playing Jacob Marley, age 7. It's probably a bloody MP3 somewhere. In fact, I'll get it. I'll have a word with Simon, see if he's got it as a video art, and I'll show you my performance as Jacob Marley from the age of 7. But yeah, how many times did I practice to get that right? As a 7-year-old. 500? And you have to keep going. It's one of them. It's like acting. It could be seen to be like snooker. Some days you've got it and some days you haven't. depending on whether you're with it. You've got it where Tom used to do hangouts with me. He's an actor. He's trained. He's really good too. Does all the voices, all the accents, just doesn't have the dialogue. And he's like, you can find something. I'm like, yeah. It's like you make the act more real than reality and play it out. And just for a minute, you're not you and you're that character. And then you're like, oh, I'm with it now. And you get into it, and then there's the performance element of it comes out. People are musicians. Practice, 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 get it right. Once they get it perfect, then they can improvise on it. Once they get it right, then they can improvise. Then they can change it. So when you get it where actors turn up and say, oh, I want to do it my way, and your way is to fuck it up. And they're like, no, do it our way. Show us you can do it our way, and then we'll listen to you. Oh, you can't do it our way. Get out of here. No good. Because an actor has to defend his performance as well, and some are better than others. Some are better at taking advice than others, right? And in acting, this taking advice from the old guy, right? Kind of grooming, isn't it? It is grooming. It's like intensive training, but a number of people in that Hollywood who take other actors under their wing, it's like, me and Paul Bettany were taking cocaine. It's like, can't you find any fucking normal friends? Why does everybody have to be one of these fucking great misfits? And then you've got it where Johnny Depp, working class kid, it's like, today's actors are not working class kids. They're the children of the elite. Because they're the only ones who can afford to work for free for fucking 10 years or like. You go for it in acting, you're out on a limb, aren't you? I know someone out in the world who's out on a limb at this moment in time. I tried to go home yesterday and I'm like, there's not so much I can do for you out on a limb. It's like shit, it is in a situation that could be seen as dangerous, shit or bust. I'm like, well, that's the thing, actors, right, have taken a shit or bust bet and won. And for every 100, so for every one who makes it, 100 crashed out and ended up going back working at McDonald's or else an estate agent or something like that. There's far more fail than succeed. And then it only ever become a matter of, who did you make friends with? And then it's a matter of, what kind of people are there? It's like this turning up as the best looking kid at your high school and knowing all the boys fancy and know that you can get away with murder with men, and turning up at Hollywood, oh, just deploy my tactics here. It's worked for too many. But going back to old Johnny Depp's story, he's got a tattoo on his arm that says wino on it with a heart. And everyone knows what it means. What? Yes, everyone knows. Maybe Amber Heard doesn't because she's dumb as fuck. She's really only interested in her. And cribbing other people's words. So she says, oh, I love literature, and she's there and she's speaking and she's telling a story and she remembers the steam on the window pane and she could see that the, a day of the life gets in there. It's like I look at the floor and it needs sweeping. That kind of got in there. There's loads of references to things. If you're clever, right, and understand a lot by way of what's a reference to what, understanding the fanciful, understanding how the mind works in memes, we're going to need a bigger boat. The mind works in memes like that. And it's like the shortest version of the meme. Sticks the X-Nammer the other day, he says, the left can't meme. I'm saying, are you fucking kidding? It's like they've got it down to the slogan. They've got it down to the one-word reference to something else. Can't meme. That's the thing, it's like, her story has got little shades of songs. There's loads of lines out of The Eagles found their way in there. There's lines keep falling in there out of Hotel California, because of the way she says, next thing I remember. And I'm like, I was running for the door. And she uses the and then method of storytelling, where you just make something up on the spot, and then she loses track of what she's already said, or what stories have been duplicated or are mixed up in her head, because she's had to go back and self-reflect and create a narrative as to what happened. And her narrative is, right, I'm a good girl, I'm a wholesome girl, I never do anything wrong, I love this man. When I use violence, it's always retaliatory and a victory. I stood up to him. First I was afraid, I was petrified, kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But she's playing that, right? And she, I think, thinks that the evidence will speak for itself. So that's deluded, right? So her story is she's going to brass it out, as they'd say, with her tits like this, and show everybody how brave she is. And she thinks that that's a good strategy, because people will go, oh, because it works on everybody, right? She turns up in Johnny Depp's life, right, and I'm having a tough breakup. And then that's over with, and she turns up in Elon Musk's life, and she says, I'm having a tough breakup. And that's the story she tells everyone. It elicits sympathy, and she, in them moments, is like hyper emotional. You get more out of her by way of performance, telling James Franco about what an evil fucker Johnny Depp is, and him be that motherfucker, understanding that reaction would elicit attention from her. So it's like, so this is a simple game being played here. She takes the last corpse and throws it at the feet of the next guy and says, look what that motherfucker did to me. You've got to help me. Someone needs to help me. And it's like, these Hollywood guys, right, where you get it, where I'm like, well, I've seen this one play out before. It's like, this is an old story, a really old story, and everyone knows. It's like, are we supposed to pretend you don't? Right? And you know why that is? Well, none of us have met Amber Heard. You think if Amber Heard decided to turn up at my front door, do you think I might not be fully thinking with my fucking brain, 100%, as to where it'd be a matter of, you'd be thinking, and then she's all of a sudden all fucking nice to you, and it's like, I can't believe I've met a man like you, because where have you been all my life? And it'd be, oh, fuck me, she's on me. Well, the signs that Johnny Depp's actually tried to school her at the beginning, and he's gotten worse. It's like he was in a good place when he ran into her, and he knew a thing or two, and he knew a trick or two, but he never come across anyone like her. Because she's complaining in her testimony about advice he was giving her as being someone who had 20 years on her. And, right, there's something about this story that everyone's missed. I will give it to you right now. Right, Johnny Depp, right, he hired her through, she looks nice. right? He arranged for her to be cast in something so he'd have the opportunity to get in. So he cast her in some movie that he was producing, and then when they got all the cast together, he said to her, can me, you and the director need to have a discussion. Can you meet me in my hotel room? And then, this is her version of events. But I'm going with it. I reckon it's fucking bang on. I reckon this is all true, this stuff. This does ring right as to how I understand the Hollywood game be played. And it's like, she gets to have this meeting with Johnny, and he's the producer and the director, and then it's a matter of, oh, the director couldn't make it, right? And he's on her within 12 hours. Within 12 hours, he is on her. He plays about that then, and she's like, go on then, wallop. When's that not crackpot down? I'm just saying, when's that not crackpot down? She tells tales, gushing, you cry, he was the love of my life, just instantly that chemistry. And it's like, no, you've got that chemistry with fucking everybody, haven't you? You're an idealizer. And you've decided you think you know who the guy is, having known him for like 12 hours, when actually, if you had your head fucking screwed on and weren't fucking, you know, thinking about all that loot and dick, access to this, the finer things, she likes her fucking drop and she likes her gear. She's thinking, oh, I'm in here. Right? And she sold herself a bill of goods in the same way as he sold himself a bill of goods. They're both in this, big time. Right? He sold himself a bill of goods. He looks at her and he's like, right, okay, I like you. It's like, on it. It's like, oh yeah, right? But you turned up on the front door and I was able to just yank you like that because I'm powerful. And within a few hours, she's like, you on it. And he's like, there's not just Johnny Depp in Hollywood, you know. There's a lot of people out there who will look at you and they'll think, she's nice, just like I did. And they'll pull you in the office. They'll play the trick as to, we need to have a meeting with the producer. And they'll get you on their own as well. And it's like, will you bend for them? And it's like, yeah, you will. You've bent for me. You have shown yourself up a bit of a slag in the first instance because I've been able to turn you around so quickly. That's like hook up shit. That's fucking nuts. But she thinks she's in super love. So she berates him for saying to her, look, keep a lid on it. And his angle, his actual real angle is, look, I got to you first, right? You were so easy to pick up for us guys who've got fucking money everywhere. You were so easy to just, I'm certainly not the first and I'm not going to be the last either. It's a matter of, you have got problems and, you know, it's just listed everywhere. Constant anxiety, suffers depression. The pills don't work anymore. You're a mess. So he identified that she's a mess, and at the time, in his fucking grandiose sense of self, and having sussed half of something out, right? Tried to school her on what to do. And he was right. I'm listening to him say, it sounds kind of based. He's saying, look, don't flaunt it, don't put it out. It's like he recognised in her that she was, in that way, vulnerable. She didn't have an idea of just how promiscuous she was. Now, it's okay if you know, have a bit of a roving eye. It's like, but if you know you're like that, right? If you know you're promiscuous, or that you are easy in that regard. There's people in the world who will just go wallop, isn't there? Any offer at all, oh yeah, and then just be pleased to be having sex with somebody, but I am having sex. There's people like that. Lots of them. And they're dancing with the fucking devil. And we all know this. But why are we supposed to just forget it? Oh, well, these are mature, sexually liberated people. It's like, no, they're not. It's like, if you know that you are a bit of a slag, right? Male or female, right? The best way to deal with it is to go home. The best way to deal with it is actually keep yourself out of, I'll hang out with the boys from now on. Because if I wasn't hanging out with the boys, I'd be hanging out with the girls. And as long as women are willing to throw it at me, I'll catch it. Not dynamics that I have to worry about so much with being not an attractive man. Those who are attractive people, they can have offers piling up. I'll get round to it. Seriously. It's like the ultimate privilege in this world is beauty. Amber Heard has that, right? Without it, her strategy in life would have fallen on its face right at the start. The world would have found her out, but it hasn't, has it? There's too many people thinking, do for me. Oh, she's so lovely and so sad. If only I could make her happy. I've got an idea what might make her happy, and then you throw at her what you think might make her happy. And it turns out, you know, you're not the first person who thought it. It's like you walked into her trap. So unhappy. I could be the one to make her happy. She's so beautiful. Now, that's what Johnny Depp signed himself up for. And married a kid. Where she tells it now, you shocked me, he's like this. And I'm like, hang on a minute. You've no fucking idea what you were letting yourself in for getting involved with this guy in the first place. I'm not saying that he's a bad bloke. I'm not saying Johnny Depp's a bad bloke. I'm saying, right, he is a guy who would give someone who was histrionic and had an axe to grind or wanted to stamp down their authority. He's someone who gives someone like that too many opportunities to do that. So the trick with someone like Johnny Depp as to finding a kind of wife would be to find a wife who didn't disapprove of his lifestyle and had a sense of humour. Seriously? Like, yeah. Because Amber Heard hasn't got a sense of humour. No sign of it, none of it going on. Everything's taken literally. She processes information like she's got Asperger's. So going back to the tattoo on his arm with the love heart, she tells a story. What's the tattoo on your arm? What's that say? Why no? What's all that about? Now, to Johnny Depp, that'd be like, excuse me? Are you taking the piss? Because everybody knows that he was in love with Winona Ryder about 30 years ago. Like, he loved her. He, like, loved her. And she's like a bit of a glum cunt that it's impossible to keep happy. And she's one of these, dude, you're saying, take the fucking needle out your arm, you're going to die. And she's saying, don't tell me what to do. This is controlling and coercive behaviour. You're trying to control me. No, I'm trying to keep the gun out of your hand. And you're like, you're trying to control me. And then the next thing you know, it's like, he's a controlling person. It's like, you may have had to hit her to get the gun out of her hand, and the story then becomes, he fucking hit me. What were you doing to get hit? Well, I was drunk, and I'm making this story up of the gun, but you understand as to where one part of the tale is lessened and mitigated to nothing, as I was just an innocent bystander. And then it then become about what you did about my minimal act. But the real act could have been fucking crazy. So it's like there is a patchwork quilt of stories that she's telling as to where she's trying to paint a picture of Johnny Depp, and she's not trying to paint the right picture, because to paint the right picture she'd have to portray herself accurately, and she can't. Do you know what that is? Well, that's the thing she talks about, dissociative identity. She won't remember what part she was playing around Johnny Depp because of all the mirroring. She pretends to be Johnny, and then when she thinks she knows what Johnny is, she tries to make Johnny like her. I can fix you. What? Yeah, you're actually broken in my mind. You are what you are outside it, and we have to make you more like the version of you in my head. And they're both guilty of that. Johnny in the first instance, and then her. It's like, if you sign up, right, for Johnny Depp, realistically, you're signing up for right, a profound bloke, right, bloke. I'd say I'm a profound bloke. Basically, I'll say things, right? But otherwise, a lump that's either all in doing or doing nothing, chilling. He's either 100% focused on what he's doing or he isn't. And when he isn't, he's 100% focused on getting wrecked. Switched on. And he had made so much money that he could live any life he wanted. And he says, join me, we can do whatever we want. We can just party all the way around the world. We don't have to have kids if you don't want. I go from picture to picture, and I can make one movie a year that'll make me $25-30 million, and then do whatever I want to do in the time in between. And that can be, and I get to hang out with everyone. Everyone wants to meet me, and I want to meet them. So I get to hang out with all the cool people. And then when I get to hang out with all the cool people, it's a matter of, so who fancies one of these pills? And it's a matter of, oh, brought me on. And then they're all out on the table with the fucking drugs. And then it's all of a sudden all giggling as to say, oh, we're all playing the same game, aren't we? So he finds his crowd, right? Wherever he goes, he finds his crowd of people who have the crack. And it's like, if you cast me in a Johnny Depp movie and he's got his crowd with him, it'd be a matter of, what would I have to do to join the crowd? And that would just be simply to partake. Okay, it's like, you're a bit of a loose cannon when it comes to drugs as well, are you? And he's like, I've been known to partake. Well, partake now, sir. Welcome to the fucking club. Everyone's on drugs around here, don't you know? And our leader of the pack here, Johnny Depp, is the most wrecked motherfucker in the room, but hasn't got anything bad to say about anyone. And he can afford to be generous. So it's like, he's in a position as to where he's like, he lives between being this artiste and this guy who's on a set who'd be like the leader of a production that he were on. The main guy, right? And he gets that right. Everyone loves him, encourages everybody, slaps everyone on the back, has the old Dunkirk spirit when things go wrong, keeps everyone going, and then when he's not doing that, let's get fucking wrecked. He's got a working man's ethic to hard work. It's like, there is a lifestyle out there where you put in the 12-hour shift, and then you put in a good 4 hour shift at the pub, and then you go home and you go to bed and you start all over again. And that's where he's from. Working class. On the clock. So, for a wife, right, he probably kidded himself, or he was kidded on, that Amber Heard was just someone who was going to follow him around the world. And if she loves him as much as she cracks on she did, be a matter of, you don't have to work. It's like, you can be Johnny Depp's wife. How about that? Be Johnny Depp's wife. We'll be on all the big movies. We'll meet all the great people. We'll party. We'll get to travel the world. We'll stay in the greatest hotels. We'll have the nicest homes. We'll travel to places on jets and yachts. Do you want to just come with me? And that's the only deal that he was offering. And I think she reneged on it. That's the way it comes across. What the fuck need has he of a wife he's apart from for 6 months of the year? What need has anyone got for a wife, or even be in a relationship with someone like that, as to where it all then becomes text messages? And then if that person's a text message who gets things fucked, if that person is like someone who can get text messages all mixed up and change the context of in her head, or read them a certain way, or isn't the best at comprehension and decides to take umbrage, and it's a matter of, from the other side of the world, that's a fucking super problem if you're in a relationship. I think your internet relationship doesn't fucking work. You need, because you can't foresee in life when you might need help. I don't foresee myself needing any help, but maybe next week I might need some help. But now I can't really foresee this. And it's like, if you're like he is, because Johnny Depp to some degree, right, would have wanted her to look after him, because he needs looking after. He gets fucking super pissed and shits his pants. Okay, it's like, I usually stay on my feet, you know what I mean? I'm not one for, but it's like, I just haven't met the limit in partying, have I, to where you get to the stage where you've shit your pants. But I could name people who've been so drunk they've shit their pants, male and female, who've been so full of cocaine and drink that they've shit their pants. It's something that he does. So it's something that might happen, as he might be just wrecked and let go of his bowels, let a wet fart out, and next thing you know, you've fucking sprayed the bed. Happens to blokes, that as you get older, you might get that. Happens to the old wet one. It's like, take no fucking chances. It's like, if you feel the need to, pass wind as you get older, go to the toilet. It's like, why? It's just because you might just knock out a wet one. It's like, what? It's like, people do that. Yeah, it's something that actually happens. But we don't talk about skid marks, do we? So it's like, this guy's a drunk. And I dare say he's into all kinds of fancy grub as well. So it's a matter of when he does shit, when he fucking follows through or farts, it'd be like, Jesus, old man's guts. And all the pills he takes would make it so his stomach would always be an interesting place to fucking create new gases and smells. In bad people's, actual digestive system can end up being. And it's like, you've got Crohn's disease, sir. Oh, well, how's that happened? Oh, well, it's a side effect from all the pills you take. For all your psychotropic medication you're on. So it's like, he's a fuck up. It's like, take the acting away from Johnny Depp, and he's a fuck up. As a human specimen. He's a weak guy, but he's on the good side. He likes a laugh. He likes the crack and fun. And he's like, I like the crack, I like the fun, I'm eccentric, rather zany, everybody loves me, and I'm really generous. Then along comes Amber, and Amber sees, because of the part she's now portraying in court, it was like, come on, we need to sort this out. You need to get off this stuff. You need to get in rehab. And she's one of these fucking crazies, as this is a thing. She thinks that there's a magic place you can go to called rehab, right? Where they do special things and magic, and months later, clean, past it, done with. She thinks that's real, right? Real. You just need to go into rehab, you just need to, and you're like, you're one of them who thinks that's real. It's like any serious person who, you know, anyone who's had because say, I'm a big one for years, drinking, me. So I get it, I get the old addiction thing, I understand it. It's like I have a dabble, I have a play, and I have my own peculiar addictions. There's video games in the world I've got a good 1,000 hours racked up at. It's like, I know about it. I know you get focused and do things, and sometimes I used to have a time as to where I knew that, you know, the need to for the alcohol was driving me. It's like, you've got to have a reasonably good paying job to be a drunk. In this day and age, it's not a cheap thing to do. It's like, if we were real smart with all homebrew, people I know who've been alcoholics who homebrewed, none of them ended well. You know, alcoholics who started making their own beer. Oh, that's a different video for a different day, that. But yeah, back in the old days, it's like you get it as to where people would drink, you know, whatever they made and get fucking wrecked off that, and not be, you know, in the spot of bother they're in today. You know, as to where basically it's like, you see a drunk in the street drinking out of a can, and he's an advert for Foster's, a special brew. He's an advert for Carling. Isn't he? He's a billboard. But yeah, I know what it is to have been that, to have been feeling a certain way and thinking I need to go for a drink. And it's like, isolate that feeling and thought that was the one that was the driver, is to say, right, I'm going to the pub. So take you a while to do. Take you a while to work out, because it's very complicated. It's a very complex thing. It's like, well, you take one layer away from it and you find another. And behind an addiction or a dependence, you find your character flaws protected behind them. You find your weaknesses defended behind your addiction. It's hard because it's then emotional. Once you know it's emotional, then it's all where it rigs in with the deja vus of this world and the flashbacks and the familiarity of the world, and it's like, oh, I've seen this game before, and you know what, I think I might have played this, which is something I've been having to actually deal with personally, right? I don't have very much in this world. It can be seen as a massive, it could be seen as a tragedy, but I don't see it as a tragedy. Or it could be seen as a massive advantage. It's got both going for it. To have nothing, to have like more or less nobody. It's got benefits. There are pros and cons. There's pros and cons to being entangled and not being entangled. Definitely. Well, I think, you know, there's a certain stage of the game, and I may be going off on a tangent again, because that's what I do. I've just lost my train of thought. Ha. That people will be watching that trial and will have listened to Dr. Shannon Curry, and then, hang on a minute, this person that she's describing sounds awfully familiar to someone I once knew or was even married to. And it's like people be coming away from this testimony thinking, you know what, I've been domestically abused. When they didn't realise they had, and they had to suck it up. Where they were blamed for everything. So it's like, keeping me going, right, is I have certain aims before I disappear, dead, right? A certain aims, certain goals. And they all involved things needing to happen in the world. Needing to happen. So it's like I'm part of a larger body. So it doesn't matter how I'm getting on. It's like as long as I survive, as long as my cause is still alive, and it's like I'm driven on certain causes. And it's like Johnny Depp paid the money to have everything I'd have say to humanity about itself and who it might admire and who it might think better of. He just finished the job. He just actually finished the work. And I'm like, you finished the work. It's like if you were to give me the thing that Wayne was talking about, that I put Wagner up there, Richard Grolin, right? If you'd have given me or them that opportunity, right? That would be the biggest platform they'd ever had. And the only chance they'd get to be able to give the testimony, and they'd work on it and they'd think about it and they'd practice answering questions and all sorts, and they'd be playing strategically, placing it all, rehearsing for it. And to them, that would have been, this is my entire life right now. This is the biggest platform to address this topic, right? It is. And I looked at it and I'm weighing it up saying, yeah, I'd have waited another 25 years for that chance he got to do that. And if, like Grannon, don't know if Grannon watches my videos anymore, I don't think he does. But if he was offered that opportunity, it would be for him, it'd be the highlight of his life. That'd be his moment in the absolute spotlight, as to say, we can expose something here, right? I personally think that Shannon Curry handled that she handled that as well as I hoped anyone would. Because, you know, she actually touched on every part of the all-pervasive borderline. So if you look at it as to where I thought her testimony was the best, she was able to describe to that jury in terms that they'd understand, based on patterns of behaviour that they'd seen before and likely even witnessed or been through, right? She were able to lay down a minefield for Amber Heard as to say, oh, this is how she is, this is what she'll do. And then her testimony comes along, and the forensic psychologist has owned her testimony. She minimises her part in the flare-up. She ignores the fact that she's actually started a fight here. Ignores the fact by standing up as piety and principle when she has neither. These little stories start with, he's a fucking mess. He's on drugs. He's an addict. He's wasted. It's like, how did he manage to ever live for fucking 48 years without you nursing? And then she's like all upset because when he's like a bit fucked up, she'd be from time to time, because that's not something that's going to happen every year. That guy's going to, every day. It's like he wouldn't have maintained his career this far if he was someone who has a fucking bender every week. He'd know, he strikes me, and he has to be, right, to have got this far. Someone who can keep a lid on it and turn up. Actors, it's all about turning up. It's like, he can turn up. Proven. He knows how to keep a lid on it, but if you give him a month off, he might get fucking wankered. And he might get wankered for a week. But that's the life he's lived. You turning up and having, a different set of values, or else just you be stimulated, hyper-stimulated with opportunities for conflict. Because if you wanted to pick a fight with Johnny Depp over his fucking lifestyle, it's like, have you never picked up a newspaper? Have you got no idea who you're dealing with here? I think it does come down to that. It's like, she decided, I'm going to marry Johnny Depp. The minute she got hold of his dick. She did. She'd signed him up. She's like, this'll do for me. And she's created a kind of sort of loved-up, sort of bubble version of Johnny. Like sensual Johnny, or basically sex Johnny. And this other person. And that, there was a bit in it where she says, well, one day he left his iPod open. It's one of her stories, iPod. She left his iPad story. He left his iPad open, so she's there having a look what he's been doing. And he'd been exchanging text with someone who she says he'd been in a relationship before, a sexual relationship. And they're now married, but he's exchanging messages with... He's not having sex with this person. He's not making arrangements to run away with them. It's like... And she, as she put it in the trial, when she saw that, she freaked. Right? And then that leads to a story of... Right, there's a problem with her accounts of violence. A big problem. Right? Because they're inconsistent with stories about fighting. Sorry, for someone who can tell stories about fighting. No, they're inconsistent with stories about fighting. The thing that would account for that is the thing they talked about as having a startle reaction to things, where it's... and then disassociation because she can't remember. Right? So, to touch her or shock her causes a disassociation. Which is like a numbness that puts her out of the game. And then, straight away, psychotic, act out like a fucking murderous thug. Like, bing! So it's a matter of that. Whereas you hear these tales of violence and she's like, I don't know how many times he hit me. So it's like, we're talking 13 times? 4 times? Twice, once. 155 times. And she tells tales of getting like pummeled and pummeled and pummeled and pummeled and pummeled. But there isn't a single real piece of medical evidence of any of it. Now, if the thing is, it's like Amber Heard, well, she's not a small girl. If memory serves, she's quite a tall girl. She'd be about 5'9", 5'8". He ain't the biggest lad. But it's a matter of man versus woman. If he's pummeling you, you'd likely have cracked something. Or if he has, as you say, head-butted you in the face, right? See this? Yeah. See this? Right? That's what head-butted on the nose looks like. Yeah? That's what it looks like. And you can, when it happens, you can say to them, can I get that fixed with like plastic surgery? And they'll say to you, have a look at it when it settles down, right? And it's like that was done. Oh God, that's a while since that nose got broke. Nearly 20 years ago now. Still not settled down. It's kind of still, it's in one piece, but the damage that was done behind it, right, to sinuses and all these sort of tubes and pipes, irreversible. Where I've had things like crimped and changed behind my nose. It's part of my voice as is a reflection of that broken nose. Someone gives you the full whack from like even height. The whack, he broke my nose, right? Right, when you break your nose, the thing she's saying, I can remember the pain till this day, right? That's not what strikes you when you break your nose, right? Right, first thing you realise is you hear a crunch and your ears pop, so you don't actually feel any pain because you've got senses that work faster than pain that register before the pain, right? So it goes ears pop, crunch, and you feel the pain the next time you try to breathe. And that is when you find out just what. Next time you try and breathe, you've got a mouthful of blood, which it seems like a mouthful of blood, but it's really not. But it seems like it is. And if the bones now if it's broken the skin, when you try and breathe through it, you'll get it as to where air escapes from here, where it's cut, where it's broken. Air escapes into you, as to where the broken nose I got did so much internal damage like that. It's like I have weird things as to where I have trouble with my ears, because there's in my system of pathways there's actually a leak. As to where, tricks people can do, like to clear ears, don't work for me because there's a leak, right? Air, when trying to do that, starts to leak out of one of my eye sockets. It's weird. It's like bubble, you feel it. So it's like a broken nose from a headbutt. Like, that's your face proper fucked up. And look at, so now it's like bobble-ended, and it's a matter of, well, there's no real feeling at the end of it. What? Yeah. So she tells tale of head-butted, broken nose, and she had the terrible pain, and there's no sign of this injury, none, to look at her. Photographs the same, no change of profile. If you've had your nose broke, and I don't mind how you've had it broke, people are going to notice it in photographs. I've never seen a broken nose that didn't require medical treatment, that didn't leave a mark other than a non-broken nose and maybe a busted nose. Now it's like comings together of drunken people. People get accidentally headbutted. I'm just saying, people get accidentally headbutted. People bump into each other. If you headbutt someone in that moment, you do mean to kill them. That is a really dangerous thing to do. But to headbutt someone on the nose, that is to... And now it's like... You leverage, you have to throw it, you have to spear yourself at someone to get them on the nose. Easy to butt someone on the forehead. Not so easy to butt somebody smaller than you on the nose. Just saying. So it's like the force of impact for the sort of what would be like a rhino attack. It says, he grabbed both my fists and headbutted me. Grabbed both her hands and headbutted her down. It's like, oh, that sounds absolutely vicious. Ooh, ragged you, bang. Ragged into you. Bang. Why is there no marks? Why weren't your teeth damaged in the same attack? Because when you get hit with a blunt force head, right, big part of why there's so much additional damage is that the guy's head, right, when I got butted, kind of went in and like caved in. It broke the nose, but it was a big impact. It wasn't somebody who'd like chipped it with a tick, 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 tick. It was big, blunt, bang. So it's like, if I'd have been someone who has, I have my eyes are in little turrets, right? They're set back in my head. So you can never really tell when I've got a black eye. Never had one. I've had the injury of a bruised eye socket, but you can never tell. Because my eyes are set back in my head, they're in little parts. But on her, who's got that sort of fish face, sort of eyes on the outside, it's like shit. Any kind of change in coloration around her eye would look like a huge fucking shiner. Any. It's like she has not got a face for hiding injuries. And she's got that sympathy demeanour as to if she was injured, she wouldn't be able to resist people saying, "Oh my God, what's happened to you?" She's not that person. She'd be using those injuries as she's using them now as to say, "He beat me terribly." It's like she's a fucking histrionic drama queen. She wouldn't be able to resist that if it was real. But listen to her stories. In every single one of them, she's found a problem with Johnny Depp's lifestyle to start an altercation, to pick on him. Right? Every time. And it's like, did you not know what you'd signed up for when you married Johnny fucking Depp? You don't have to work anymore. But when she, say, freaks out and starts one of these episodes that she says ends in this terrible violence, right? When she hangs out with men, right? And she's also a lesbian. She's bisexual. So she likes women too. And when she hangs out with people and she sends text messages to people and she's on the phone talking to people, strangers, friends, my good friend, we're close, but it's platonic. All those people she hangs around with, right? That's okay. She's allowed to do that. You're being obsessive. You're being jealous. And it's like, hang on, I was able in the first instance to pretty much go, she looks alright, and you're in my fucking bed. Don't you think there are others out there who see that you are a bit of a fucking idiot when it comes to that kind of thing? As to you decide you like people real quick, they become your bosom close pals suddenly, and then they're not your bosom close pals anymore. So he knows this. He knows that he just, in essence, just picked her up, and she's turned out to be a sketchy character. Of course because the drama and the lies she'd be telling people, it's like, it's not really strictly safe to be letting her out on the street, is it? And he gets it. So she's a nutter and she's winging it. So he tried to protect her, and that's been thrown in his face as controlling. It's like, Amber, you never need to work, ever. Ever. You've married this guy, and he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and he knows where he can get another few $100 million. It's like, you signed up to get married to a creature that's too old to fucking change. So it's a matter of, there's nothing to stop him from being happy, is there? See, he ain't. Nothing stands in his way. So what do you think you fucking married in the first place? She's got this like babyish sort of Johnny I know, the Johnny I love. It's like he's a fucking imaginary character that you invented when you were selling yourself on the idea of signing him up. Unable to see the old smackhead with limitations, and someone who, if you wanted to work, would only see 6 months of the year with. But she's like, it's me, it's my career, I'm the star, I'm the... And it's like, no, you're not. It's like, they're not going to put you front and centre to sell a big Disney movie out of the amber, ever. Right? This guy, they've sold him up front about 20 times as a leading man. It's like he's a movie star. It's like he's worth money to them in the past, the present, and the future. And you ain't that, even though you think you're brilliant. You think you're just amazing. That you deserve to be in that position because of just who you are. No. She was being signed up to be the guy's wife, and he was expecting that she'd follow him all over the world, and I think she's probably just reneged on that. She's seen that she's been getting attention because of her famous boyfriend, and then that's led to her, but she's used that to then give herself opportunities to advance in her acting career. And husband, Johnny Depp, you know what I mean, like recognised as being diverse and versatile, and certainly someone who can give it all, perform, right? He's telling her, don't be bothering with the acting, and she take it as, you don't think I've got talent, do you? It's not about that. It's about who you are. It's like you kind of need to be protected, and you'd be better off, you'd be safer playing the bongos and getting wrecked around a campfire with me than you will be getting passed around by fucking James Franco and his mates and telling more lies, turning more people against each other, fucking up more stuff. It's like you'd be better off hanging out with me and just doing that, because you can do that if you don't decide to run your mouth. It's like she was offered a deal and didn't realise it. The only deal that was available, and it'd be, yeah, you're going to have a lot of fun, but a lot of ups and downs with someone who's for too long to be able to change, been able to do whatever he wants. And you turn up and impose rules on him when there doesn't need to be any. It seems like everything works fine without you. There's reminds me this tale of there's a great little story. I'll tell you an anecdote that I read on the internet. It's sometimes fun when you've spent best part of 20 years wanting to learn things, not like at school when you just couldn't be bothered, but doing it on your own, of all the little stories that you read. And if you look at guys in the world who've achieved things by way of the bio, right, the best one to look at is always Chris Christopherson. Unbelievable. He's a sort of list of things. If you read the guy's bio, it's like, you've done all this. It's like he fitted what seems to be like 5 lifetimes into one life, and had many different careers and been hugely successful in loads of different areas. And one stage of his life, he was married to this singer called Rita Coolidge, and she divorced him. And in the divorce, it says, I know he went with other women. I know he cheated on me. No names named. I know he cheated on me. I know he used to drink to excess. And he was a drug user. Yeah? It's like exactly the same bloke you married, and then she says, but the worst thing of all, the most hurtful thing is, he was critical of my talent as a songwriter. And it's like, right, okay, Rita. It's like, he's Chris Christopherson. It's like he's the biggest selling country music songwriter in all of like musical history. It's like this guy's better than you'll ever be if you were to live to be 200-300 years old already. And he's got all the gold records in his house and all the relationships in the music business to prove that he's that good. And when she divorced him and she says, he was critical of my songwriting, it's like, that's the guy who wrote like Me and Bobby McGee and Help Me Make It Through the Night. You're like, they're brilliant songs. And it's like, what did you ever do? This Amber Depp reminds me so much of that, as to where she seemed to think she could change that man she married into what best suited her at any given time. So yeah, he was off doing gigs all the time. He was hanging around with his mates, and they're all drunks. He was playing music with guys around the house, and they were taking drugs. It's like some of his friends, right, were a bit sketchy. It's like, yeah, you married someone, and he had a life, and then when you came into it, you looked at it and went, so what do you think you fucking married? Well, the reality of the situation is these showbiz types get a bit of a drink on them, and we're looking at each other on the telly, haven't they? And they've been thinking, she's nice. So they both ended up running into each other, who know each other off the telly, and they've both decided who they think they are, and it's just a figment of each other's imaginations. As to that old starstruck, cunt-struck thing that the viewer feels, the actors feel that too, and they kid themselves, get themselves in exactly the same trouble as the viewer does. You know, this grooming thing. Like, you get Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile was able to groom the fucking world, so everyone knew who he was, but they had no fucking idea who he really was. But everyone would give him the benefit of the doubt, and everyone's in the hearts and minds of almost everyone. They could say, well, you know, he's raised a lot of money for charity. The very least you could say about him. There'd be others who'd be saying, he's like a saint. It's like, that's just something that happens. That just goes with it. It's not whether you're a pedo behind the facade or not, but it's like, the facade is real. People think better of others they don't know. See things that aren't necessarily there. Because then it confuses with actors, right? You could put me on the stand, right, talking in my own defence like Johnny Depp's been doing, and I can explain myself in my own words better than Johnny Depp can in his. Isn't that a funny old thing? It's like he's pretty good when the words are written down, but being asked to perform his own, not so great. But you look at his wife, who's like a super bullshitter player. She's like fluent, bum 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 bum, fluent with other people's words and ideas. So that thing she's laid out there is like jumbled spaghetti, emotional jumbled spaghetti with no dates, no names, no evidence. But it has to be real for her to be right. So in her imagination, it's real. She's created that. But say the trap's set because she minimises her own role in every one of these, even her stories. Her stories if the jury are as smart to bullshit as they could be, her minimising her role in all these episodes that she's testified about proves that she's a fantasist, that she's a borderline personality disorder, ultra fantasist who'll say anything. Proves it. That there's a grain of truth in every single one of these stories, but her role in the situation, she minimises it so everything that happens to her seems like a huge overreaction because of how she's framed her part in it. And as soon as you picked up that pattern in every little tale she tells, all she's doing is reaffirming the diagnosis of the forensic psychologist. So, in view of just what she said, because I'm thinking about it, trying to be fair about it, as if I was like kind of a juror, which has gone out the window because it's like. But I'm thinking about it now as the forensic psychologist, and be a matter of, right, okay, I get to come back here, we get to cross-examine this person, and this pattern of minimisation of basically the thing I like to talk about is the role you played in your own downfall, always being the missing part of the story and the person who's got that kind of problem. When they start to talk, it's like everything they did is minimised or talked about in an offhand way as if it's no big deal or acceptable. What did you do? And that's the missing part of this story when it comes out of her mouth. So it's like when they come back to cross-examine, that's the angle of attack. They go straight in as to say, so your part in this, so your part in this, so your part in this. It's okay when you do it, but it's a terrible problem. And this situation here where you impose rules on this man, demanding he go into magical detox. I think Johnny Depp must be beyond the notions of thinking he can go into something like magical detox. Surely. But she seems to think that the magical realm of therapy and the Betty Ford Clinic is real. So it's like, oh right, okay, so as long as she thinks that's real, she's going to throw that out as the, why don't you do this? 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 Why don't you get clean and sober? Why don't you get, and it's like, because I'm miserable. That's why. And then it comes straight back to Amber. Why won't you stop picking on me with your magical voodoo learned off the fucking internet nonsense? And it'd be that brick wall of she thinks she's right, she thinks she's brilliant, she thinks she's right, she thinks she's brilliant, she thinks she's right, she thinks she's brilliant. There's part in this story as to where there's a bit missing as to where I don't think right I don't think Johnny Depp has not given her the odd crack. I think he's definitely laid hands on her. But I think they've actually, from what the way she talks through her fights are all like kind of poetry. But it strikes me as they've had fights that have been tit for tat. Escalations. Fights that have escalated where it's like a fight broke out and she'd be pushing him as to be, go on Johnny, go on, be a man, go on, do it, go on, bang, come on, do it. I used to have a rule, right? And this is serious. A rule, right? Where it comes to women hitting. This is from when I was in my 20s. And I put it out. I say, if you hit me, it's like, well, I can hit you like 8 times harder than you can hit me. So, if you hit me 8 times, I'll give you one of mine. You didn't wonder why I'm not married, don't have a long-term girlfriend when I have boundaries like that. See, me, I was raised around with girls who used to beat your ass. They'd kick your ass all over the place. Tough girls would just kick your ass. They might have an advantage over you where they were 2 years older than you, 3 years older than you, physically bigger. They would kick your ass everywhere. And it's a matter of, am I now to forget that that existed and that be what the world was? Oh no, you can't touch a woman. It's like, well, I'll tell you what, it's like, you need to find out, you come to know some women I've known who'd be the first at you with the violence. I know women who are physical bullies, like mean. And it's like, if she threw one at you and it was allowed to continue and she was looking to hurt you, if you didn't defend yourself, you'd just be asking to get your fucking eyes torn out. So the reality of it is that they've had fights, haven't they, that have been tit for tat. And he can't say it because of the... So in some ways, it's like he hasn't gone far enough. I don't think in his. I think there's more to the story. I think that there's escalations. I think he's proper knuckled there a few times, and I can't see him not doing, because I would have done. It's like push to the absolute limit. I'll fucking fire back. It's terrible that, you know, to find yourself henpecked by someone who uses violence, henpecked, and you're not returning hits because it's a woman. Oh, I can't hit her, but she can hit you as much as she likes. She can do whatever she wants, and if you hit her back, it's used in the wrong. So it's like I used to have the 8 count. They're like, well, what's the 8 count? So, well, if she hits me 8 times, I'll hit her back. And if you set the boundary and a woman started hitting you, you're like, oh, that's 3. 4. Are you gonna push it some more? It works as a deterrent. Like John, in your lifetime, with members of the opposite sex, you've had to actually put out boundaries like that to stop them from hitting you. It's like, yeah. So I used to have a woman used to sit over back from me at work. She had rings on her fingers. And she used to sit behind me. And if she heard me say something that was a bit off, like not politically correct by way of a joke or something like that, usually the old sexism, she would just punch me on the shoulder. It didn't really hurt that much, but she hit me as hard as she could. It's not even really, doesn't even register, but I know I'm being hit here. And then it were go for your face with ruler. Try and cut your face, try and hit you in the eyes with ruler. Like, whoosh. And if at any given stage of it, if I'd have turned round and said, right, that's the last time you lay a hand on me, bitch, that'd have been the end of my job. I'd have been gone. Gone. You threatened a woman. Gone. But in the same place, just allowed to just punch me and it'd be funny. So it's like we've got as far as I've experienced it, we have a problem with societal violence, that people are blind to the fact that men are not allowed to defend themselves against women. Not allowed to defend themselves. So that just means they can do whatever they want, and they know it. And you're seeing it you're seeing that assumption be tested in the court. That's what you're seeing tested. That assumption. And I almost hope she actually wins. It's like, it's so good what's happening, because if she was to win, it's a matter of, yeah, that's the court system. It's like, it could be said that the judge was against him. It could be said that the lines of tactics used by the defence are just straight up dishonest, allowing loads of hearsay to end up on the record. It would almost be better if she got off for the standpoint of, we need to have a look at how much women are allowed to get away with, and how their lies can be believed with just a simple tearful eye and familiar story. Tell a familiar story and people be like, oh yeah, the bastard. Something needs to be done about him. I'm telling you, I'm a logical, sort of rational person most of the time, right? I ain't married. And now it's like I'm not even not even theoretically on the market in view of what I know. Not even theoretically available. It's like, why? It's like, because there's a few elementary tests I can work in as to where do your boundaries lie? What do you think's important? And it's like, in this day and age, no one's going to pass that test. Who's in a situation as to where they might be interested in me? No one's passing that test. Like, why? It's like, well, it's a taboo, right? Or has been a taboo in my understanding of social, that it's bad taste or bad manners to ask a woman anything about her past. Like, what? Well, that put to me that never, it's a taboo, ever ask women about. You should never ever ask a woman about her past. Same way as some throw it out as though you should never ask a woman her age. So why not? Well, because they makes them self-reflect. They fucking hate it. Never ask a woman about her past. Well, you might run into someone who might be able to save you a load of fucking time and trouble. And that would completely fuck up the game for everybody, wouldn't it?